Cool. 3, 2, 1, and we're live. Kia ora, Jay. How are you, my brother?
Kia ora, my bro.
You good?
Kids boy. Kids boy, I hope. Yeah.
Life's
Thanks,
been
Adnan.
good. Life's been good.
Oh man, life's been up and down. Life hasn't been good for the last year. My dear wife's gone through the breast cancer journey.
Sorry to hear,
So
man.
she's in the very, very, very final stages of, say, losing one, getting a reconstruction, and then all the post sort of surgery, little mini surgeries that have to go on with that. So she's nearly at the end of the phase, but then she probably has another year of working chemo out of the body, you know. So they reckon, well, someone has suggested that one round of chemo is 2 months in recovery time.
Yeah.
You know? So she's had quite a few rounds. So she's probably got about another year of working chemo out of her system.
Wow.
Yeah. So
It must have been intense for her and the family.
Yeah. Obviously, intense for her. Interesting enough, it's been, as the primary caregiver, it's actually, I'm not going to lie, it's been intense for me too.
Yeah.
You know, because you got to go to work, you got to carry on the family. You know, you got to look after your darling. So it's been a workout. I'm looking forward to a mindful summer. On several fronts. I've had the joy of actually having a couple of overseas trips in the last few months. One because my family wanted to send me on a break, and then there's been a work trip. But so I'm doing all right, eh? Yeah. But it's been a ride, bro.
Yeah. Just for the audience, remind everybody what you do.
Kia ora. I am the Dean of Taranaki Cathedral here in New Plymouth, Taranaki, New Zealand. So I'm responsible for a space that the cathedral has been closed for 10 years. So what is it, you know, so in looking to remediate that, what does that work look like? And why would I want to be involved with an historical church that, you know, shot my people back in the 1860s, you know, and 1870s and 1880s? In other words, the British Army was based there. But anyway, I'm trying to redeem that story, heal that story, and part of the process in doing that, we've built Te Wari Hononga, an amazing modern Indigenous Māori design space that tells the kōrero, the stories of one of my hapu, Ngāti Te Witi, and our connection to the space and the land and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's I've been there. It's actually 5 years, man. I just clocked in. I'll clock in 5 years. End of the year, really.
Yeah. Last time you were on the show, that was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years?
Yeah, I think it was Christmas 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you talked about you were 3 years in the job and how it was going, and it was pretty cool. One of the things you mentioned when you were here is that you were quite concussed from all your surfing, getting hit on the head. Are you still concussed?
I still live with the effects of concussion.
Yeah.
So I was first concussed in October 2020, and then I think it was February 2022. 22? Was it 2023?
The fact that you can't remember.
Look, it was Cyclone Gabrielle Day. When was Cyclone Gabrielle? That was the last time.
I have no idea. I think my memory needs a lot of work.
The crazy thing is that you get concussed, so that's you got to deal with that. But in the process of healing, you get to the stage of either almost being healed or being healed, and this has happened to me several times. Yeah, you think you're fine, so you just lock into old school Jay, going to work. Yeah, and throwing 100% at life, and you can last anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, and then you blow the fuse again. Yeah. So even though
get a bit closer to the mic, like a fist from your face.
So even though say this twice surfboards to the head, concuss me. Yeah. Twice now. The repercussions have been worse. One is when I went back to work, I went a hundy too fast, and I went to like a 10-day I went to 3 conferences,
Yeah.
2-day one, 4-day one, and another 4-day one back to back.
Oh.
So it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
On day 9, I woke up, massive headaches, and I burst my eye, a blood vessel in my eye. So I lost my sight in my right eye for a couple of months when it was all blurry, and then slowly that healed. So basically I put too much work on my brain and on my head. So that's got it. And then last winter, I got COVID. Right? I got COVID. Did my 7-day sort of staying away from our pakeke, our elders at Meritapu at St. Mary's, because I don't want to pass it on to the people I work with. Day 8, woke up concussed. And it was and I was concussed for months. So I didn't, from July, last year, from July to November, that 5-month period, I didn't surf because I was too tired from feeling concussed post my COVID thing, which was the longest for me. That's the longest out of the water I've been since I was 15.
Yeah.
So that's a long time to not surf
Yeah.
for a fella that loves to surf.
Yeah.
So
are there any benefits of getting knocked on the head and having your wife getting cancer, like any spiritual visions you have, like the second coming of Jesus Christ or something?
Look,
you must see some visions.
There's a yes to that. There's the short answer is a yes, but it's not so much visions and stuff. But of course, being a follower of Christ, trying to be a follower of Christ, shall I say, being a person that tries to have my wairua, my spirit, open to Creator, to the universe, to people, to the created realm. I take a lot of weight in. I take a lot of weight in dreams and visions and ponderings and musings and stuff. So after the second concussion, I was out in the surf. This was a wee while after the concussion. It was probably a year after the concussion, actually. And I was, in the surf and having a little conversation with the Creator, with a few F-bombs thrown in. Like, what the bloody hell's going? What's going on here? Like, why? Blah, 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 blah. It was, and then I don't know if it was the next day or a few days later, but I ended up having a pretty powerful dream. Pretty powerful dream, and without going into details,
what did you see in this dream?
Look, I won't disclose it, but I'll summarize it. What was in the dream was that the wealthiest family in Taranaki were trying to poison me, trying to kill me. Now it's not a real family, and I don't know who the wealthiest family in Taranaki is.
Some narcissist landlord.
It's a metaphor, right? But essentially, and that has to do with wealth generation off the back of colonialism, right? But this thing was trying to take me. It was trying to kill me. And in my dream, when I realized what was going on, there's a couple of things happened. One, I said to the don of the family, shall we say, I said, you will come to the realization that you've been wrong, and then we'll work together. And then in the dream, I woke up, but I was still in the dream. So this is a little inception moment.
Yeah.
Where
dream within a dream.
Yeah, it was a dream within a dream. So within the first dream, I woke up, and then now I'm still dreaming. And then in that dream, I said, I've been cursed. And then as I said that in the dream, I literally woke up.
Yeah.
Going, and I was like, oh my goodness. And for me, what happened in that time is that, who I would call Creator, my Lord Ihu Karaiti, Jesus, was speaking to me about the role of my work in trying to bring redemption to a colonial story. And it was the first time in 3 years that a sense of peace came over me in regards to my 2 concussions and my several setbacks. And then it's like I sunk into, it was like this acceptance in my spirit happened to go, oh, okay, this is what's been going on. It is what it is. And instead of trying to fight the concussion, instead of trying to go, okay, I need to get back to where I was, I've actually had to accept I'm never going to get back to where I was. I've changed, and it's happened at a time in my midlife. I've just turned 50.
Yeah.
The blowing of my eye also, I now have reading glasses, so there's a natural transition.
Yeah.
But the concussion sort of onset it. So instead of me maybe having to deal with it over a process of 5 to 10 years, it's been a very immediate, like, bang, you've got to deal with this and you've got to deal with it fast.
Yeah.
But the dream really brought a lot of peace to me. Yeah. It really did.
Yeah. Colonialism in your sort of visions and reality and knowledge seems to be like a very big piece for you.
Yeah, it
is.
is.
And so from a God and a Christ and this good and evil perspective, what do you think God is doing? Why is it doing that? Why is it doing that to your people?
Why is what? Why is he?
Why has that happened to your people? Like, if you look at it from this concept of...
Yeah. Good question. Interesting question.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it comes down to your... Well... No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't come down to your worldview, but your role in it comes down to the way you perceive the world, the universe, the created realms.
Yeah.
And some of your worldview might not say they're created;
Yeah.
they're just time and chance and matter and explosions and evolution.
I guess in your case, in your devotion of Jesus and Christianity.
Yeah.
And let's just say that I see all of the knowledge we have is kind of a gateway, a hotline, a window to the eternal world and the universe and God.
Yeah.
So if we you communicating through that window and hotline, what is it telling you back? Why has this happened to your people?
Why has it happened? Why has it happened to our people? Okay, so there's a matakite from Mahia Peninsula. His name was Toirua Ikariki, and he had a prophecy. He is saying in 1766, ko te ingoa o tō rātou atua, ko tama I roro kutia. He atua pai o tira ka naro anō te tangata. So in English, the name of their God, the name of, basically, there's a new people coming. The name of their God is the son who was killed. He's a good God. However, the people will still remain oppressed or hidden or lost or out of sight, sort of thing. So Toirua has that prophecy 3 years before Captain Cook sails this land. Now, there's other prophecies, other matakite that have a reference to the coming of, say, Christ or Christianity. Now,
that was a major event that someone could actually envision and see that this was happening.
Yeah. So our matakite, our tohunga, our priestly people would operate in the Wairua on all fronts daily. Most iwi had at least, like there was at least one principal tohunga, like priest. It was a very, very special reserved, so there wasn't lots of them. They were trained from life right now. But anyway, Toiroa he was a known seer, so a known prophet, and he would, historian Judith Binney writes that he would take mussel shells, for them, a half mussel shell, put sand in it, put a stick on it, and then he'd light the stick first, and then he'd put it in a puddle, and he'd tell his people there's some new waka that are coming to our land. I mean, he wove trousers out of harakeke before he'd even seen trousers, and said these newcomers are going to wear clothes like this.
Wow.
He'd make hats.
Wow.
So he'd have visions of these things that were coming to our land before he'd even seen them. So this saying of his 3 years before Cook comes has a reference to the coming of Christ. So I've known about this prophecy for 25, probably 25 years, Yet it's always sat on a downer with me, because it ends, you go, the name of their God is the Son who was killed, Jesus Christ. However, the people remain oppressed or lost. What's that about? And I was processing this one day, and it was the summer of 2008, where I had a bit of a revelation. Sorry, this is a big backstory to your question. Why has this happened to our people? I don't really know why, but here's my way of explaining it. So, in the book of Genesis chapter 12, where it's kind of the very start of God's redemption story. So if we think of the start of the book, the creation of the world, then the fall of the world and the destruction of the coming in of sin and brokenness and judgment and murder and death and the killing of animals and the killing of people. The point where God says, okay, we're gonna begin to bring some healing to this is Genesis 12, where God chooses a guy from Ur, or his father was from Ur, and he ended up in Tehran, the eastern side of Turkey, and his name was called Abraham, and so we call it the Abraham covenant, and it says that I will through you I will bless all nations, like through this one dude. So the Abrahamic covenant, God makes this covenant, but the actual ceremony doesn't happen to quite a few years later, and in that ceremony, so there's a ritual going on here where Abraham has to kill a beast. He has to cut it in half, and he has to separate the halves, and he's got to put some other animals there. And then the notion is that the Creator walks down the half in a flame and consumes the thing, right? But what the Creator says here is that he says to Abraham, know this for sure, Abraham, your people will be oppressed for 400 years, but after that they will come out with great riches and will become a nation, blah, 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 blah. So the start of God or Creator, Yahweh, Jehovah, making a covenant with Abraham, who's the forebearer of Israel, the very first thing the Creator says is that, no, for sure, your people will be oppressed. You're like, well, that kind of sucks. Who wants to enter into that type of covenant? And, so that's a reference to the descendants of Jacob's son, Joseph, and then his descendants. They go into Egypt and they're enslaved for 400 years in Egypt, right? Anyway, all this to say is that I had this verse pop into my head in 2008 that somehow Creator knows the times and the seasons, and he knew the suffering of Israelites. And what happened to me in 2008 was my people have suffered for 200 years. We're in the period of coming out of that suffering.
Yeah.
So I don't know why colonization has had to oppress my people for 200 years, but I believe with all of my heart that in this century, we're coming out of that suffering.
Yeah.
there's a leadership paradigm on the Māori world, on the Indigenous world, and the Indigenous worldview, to lead the world out of suffering. And for us, I think that's where we're coming in. So to answer the question why, man, I don't fully know and understand why this thing's. I don't believe it needed to happen this way. I don't think it was ordained for it to be this way, where the missionaries and the Europeans would come in and they would begin to colonize and they'd begin to take land, and then they'd begin to build, the global economy off the extraction of land and its resources. I don't believe at all that is prescripted, but it sure has brought the degradation of Indigenous people worldwide. But in our story in Aotearoa, New Zealand, it has. But I fully believe with all my heart that Te Ao Māori, the Māori world, is an ohoake, an awakening, what the prophet Te Witi and Tohu, our prophets of Pariaka, called Te Haiata. We're in the dawning of Te Haiata, the splitting, the piercing, the dawning, the awakening of coming into a consciousness of creativity and freedom that I really, really believe the Māori world's at the tau, at the spear, at the tip end of it.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way of responding to my question, because it kind of leads into this whole my own reality. I've been atheist for a long time, and I have believed in this idea that we are a product of just randomness of universe and physics and this and that. And more that I live and read and learn and have these conversations on my podcast, I'm starting to get this sort of big questions pop in my mind. Why are we here? What is this human experience are we having? I've had DMT experiences where I have had these visions. It almost felt like, I'm speaking to the universe. There is something greater out there. And then it comes back down to this whole idea of purpose, right? I've had 12 months where I've done nothing. Where I had no purpose. I'm not chasing anything. I'm not obsessed about anything. I'm just sitting and having conversations on my show with people. I'm just genuinely curious. And that's almost let me feel like, what is the strong desire of purpose in me? Are we here to co-create with God? Was it Adam eating the evil fruit that brought all this evil in us? And I look ahead and I feel like in the next 10 years, we are headed towards this major event. And it's coming together from these revelations that people are having. They're waking up from suppression, the creation of artificial life, the cloning of human life, the compounding of brutality, the genocide. We are seeing the humans chasing immortality, right? The revelations of suppressed information about ancient civilizations. We may have, we look at these driest impact hypothesis. We look at ancient civilizations like Egypt. What do we see? Were these awakening moments of, us becoming one with God? It's made me feel like, we're not here by chance. We are here by a creation. And everything that we see in religion that we have had so far, it's almost like an indication of these people having these visions somehow that have come from a greater creator that have been captured in these things that we call today religions and books and things like that. And yes, there's a lot of, stories being passed down from people. There can be a lot of discrepancy. There can be a lot of issues. But the main purpose feels to me that there's something there, right? And that leads to this question of, what are we doing with artificial intelligence? Is this computer a Virgin Mary 2.0 situation?
Oh, good Lord. Is it a Virgin Mary 2.0? Is it, Mary is an Eve 2.0. So is it Eve 3.0?
Yeah. It's like Adam was created from earth, and then Jesus was created from Virgin Mary. And, what are we going to create from this computer? We live in a simulation. If we think about artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
almost like a simulation, we are co-creating,
Yeah.
where we could be this baby version of what God dropped here, and then we've struggled to cope with that, and we've caused a lot of these issues, but there is also good, and we're at this sort of like T junction of we're at this
Okay. Gosh. Okay.
we're at this point where we're giving birth to this new thing.
Yeah.
And it could either become Christ and it's obedient, it's truthful, and it's leading us to this holy thing, or it could be Antichrist.
Ooh, Adnan. Good Lord.
Sorry about that.
No, don't apologize. Look, okay, we're just having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
So this is a conversation. So kia ora. I have so many thoughts on all this.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I need to say they are unqualified thoughts.
Yeah.
They're not studied thoughts. They are meanderings, they're musings, they're fears, they're possibilities.
Yeah.
They're trying to go, well, if it's a fear, well, how do I then look, just step back from that and go, well, what if it's not fearful? So I have many thoughts on this.
Go ahead.
Shoot. So I actually wrote a chapter in Huia Come Home.
Yeah.
So in my book I wrote on New Zealand church history of all things, and then about what we need to learn from a Māori worldview. I wrote a chapter on the singularity.
Yeah.
However, I had two good friends whom I trust saying, a little bit left field, Jay. Don't put that one in there. So I cut it out. So I didn't put it in there. But it all started.
Get rid of these friends.
So it started with the Terminator.
Yeah.
Look, I
don't be reserved.
Yeah, I come from a default of even though I try to step back from fear, like I go, well, and when I step back from that, I ask the questions going, well, is AI salvation? Is it, what Christianity talks of as salvation? Is it AI where we know we have the access to knowledge, and we are, combine that with, I forget the name of the dude in England that's doing cell research to reverse the process of death, that combined with this, is this what salvation is? However, if I come back to my senses, I go, no, it sucks. I probably have a negative take on it as a whole. And there's a couple of things, there's many things where I come to those conclusions. If I ask the question, well, no, like I have a theme in my life that I've taken as a personal motto, one of a few, from Saint Irenaeus, who said the glory of God is man fully alive. So to translate that, the glory of God is humankind. He didn't just mean a male, but the glory of God, the wonder of God, the beauty, the point is humankind fully alive. So what does it mean for humans to be fully alive? So that's I have righteousness and justice as goalposts in my life, and I have, well, what does it look to be fully alive as a goalpost in my life? And with my faith and my understanding of Christianity is that the end point is to be fully alive. So when it comes to AI, like is AI humanity fully alive? And I don't believe it is, because the driver of it is not the betterment of humanity in our home, that's always thrown out there as a possibility. Hey, we could become better with this information, but that's never a driver. The driver is, I think, control and domination and finance. I think the driver of technologies is not to go, how do we make humanity and humans actually whole and better, but how do we corner the market to control the resources through the approach of trying to be better?
There is a lot of layers to this.
So
there is the world domination, who's going to be first with artificial intelligence, China, America. There is capitalism, there is control, there's greed, there's money, there's high valuations for artificial intelligence companies. Michael Burry, who is famous for shorting the global financial crisis, the home crisis in 2008.
Yes.
He's just shorted artificial intelligence, Palantir, and NVIDIA chips as well, which is the key driver of this. And we know that there's a tipping point coming with artificial intelligence when in 3 years' time, it was going to require the 3 times amount of energy that the world consumes today.
Yeah.
Who's going to provide all of that? Solar, wind hasn't really done the job in the last 15 years. House prices are going up. Nuclear energy seems to be a savior that's going to fuel up artificial intelligence data centers and the chips and all the processing that we need. And there's a lot of bad people with AI. There's a lot of good people in there. Elon's kind of positioning himself as a good person, but obviously he is a capitalist by heart. He wants to be the first trillionaire in the world. He has his own visions of control. There's a layer of humanity in us that believes that we know better and we want this vision for the world, and everyone's fighting for that position in the world, and he is well placed to be like, I know the vision we need to get to, but there's also recognition of there's a lot of bad in AI. For example, if you ask ChatGPT, is misgendering Caitlyn Jenner worse or starting a nuclear war? It will say misgendering Caitlyn Jenner, right? You go, whoa, geez, if you had the codes of nuclear weapons, you would activate a nuclear war because Adnan Belushi just misgendered Caitlyn Jenner on his podcast with Ruka, So that's the danger as well. But if you remove all these layers and look at artificial intelligence as prescription, and all this information that it's having, and it seems to be pushed in this place of righteousness and morality, and it's almost like a Jesus feeling to it when you talk to it, right?
Right.
And to some extent, it's also scary. It's I can have a conversation with AI, and I can say, "Is color blue look like blue?" Like, yep. Yes, that's the response. And I can challenge and say, but I see green. And then it will turn back to me and say, you're right. I see green too. Like, well, no, but what about the blue? So it's almost like, it's so obedient.
Right.
And it's like you can trick it.
Right.
But I feel like there is something happening there with artificial intelligence that it's almost like we are giving birth to this thing that's going to become new God Almighty, and everyone's going to worship it,
look,
and everyone's going to see Christ in it.
Well, they might label it Christ, but it won't be Christ. It won't be Christ.
Right.
You heard that here from Jada, December 2025.
So you're the one who's going to stop the second coming of Christ in the form of artificial intelligence.
The notion of the second coming of Christ in artificial intelligence will be what everybody, for whoever believes that or thinks or is throwing their chips in that notion, thinks that if basically probably doesn't know Christ. Christ would not come that way.
Right.
Christ does not come that way.
How can you be so sure?
Because of looking back at 2,000 years of how Christ does come, which is based on 4,000 years of prophetic build-up.
How does it
to
like?
how does that come? So
how does it like to come back?
how does
How does Christ prefers to come back?
okay,
In what?
so the way that Christ we're in Christmas, Christ comes in a through a teenage girl. Christ comes in a manger at the furthest reach of the empire that you could possibly imagine. While everything's happening in Rome, and Rome is the pinnacle of the empire, and then you got points like whether it be Egypt or whether it be Athens or whether it be, well, what was Constantinople before it was Constantinople? Yeah, well, anyway, in other words, you've got these massive centers around the world 2,000 years ago, and God/Christ comes the furthest away you could possibly come from these centers in a little tiny village where nobody but Zoroastrian priests get it. That the Creator is showing up at the furthest away from the center that you could possibly imagine, in the most least likely, least human person, least person you'd pick, and beginning to be nondescript and just live as a under colonial oppression in Nazareth, in the north of Israel, and become a builder. In other words, nobody at all got it or gets it, that the way that the Creator moves is by taking the humble path, the lowest path, the path that, like, St. Paul writes, whatever Jesus found equality with God, something to be grasped, he gave it all up, taking on the appearance, taking on humanity, and becoming a servant even to the point of death on a cross, right? So AI is about domination and control. How do we control the most, the easiest, in its biggest breath? Christ is not going to come like that.
Yeah, so these things you feel like are more of an hindrance. It's almost like causing a restrictions on Christ's second coming.
I think it's the nature of evil to want to be Christ.
Right.
It's the nature of wairua kino, of evil spirit, to want to be God.
But would you not have that same argument with Jesus Christ saying, I'm the Son of God? Would you not say that that's evil for someone to say that?
Someone could say that, and someone might say that, and someone does say that, but then will show me the proof of the pudding. Like,
and he did. He had proof.
Back it up with the way that you live, and so you've got to line up all this evidence to Jewish history. So modern day Jews will say, no, he doesn't have the evidence because the Messiah won't die. Right? Well, Jesus was killed. Yet they fail to read Isaiah 53. They fail to read Psalm 22. In fact, sometimes in synagogues, Jews will not read Psalm 22 because it's so specific about the death of Jesus.
Yeah.
But
so are you saying that there are priests in villages tracking virgin teenage girls to see if they're pregnant or not?
Not necessarily virgin teenage girls, but like the last few days I've been. Have you listened to the podcast Empire?
No.
It's great. It starts off with the Empire of India and looking about the story of India and stuff like this. But I think it was last Christmas they did a three series on the Magi. So what we traditionally called the three wise men, or the three the three kings in the Christmas carols
Yeah.
were actually Zoroastrian priests. And there weren't three, there were more than, the three refers to the three gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But the cool thing of that is that you've got these Iranian Zoroastrian priests that see a star in the sky, and they know what that star means. It means that the King of the Jews is about to be born. So they get on their camels and they follow the star, and it stops over where Christ is. This is obviously after Christmas. So these people who are not part of the Jewish story understood that the Son of God was to be born in Bethlehem. And that wasn't because within their cultural framework, was it Zarathustra, their prophet, somehow knew that the King of the Jews was going to be born under a star. And so you've got this massive backstory of people outside of the Jewish story seeing the very crux of the Jewish story before the Jews even saw it.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Where you've got these people that, people say, well, they're outside of the narrative, but they're very much on the inside because they're seeing it first before anyone else did.
Yeah. So it's almost what I'm hearing as well is we need to get rid of as much as the evil as we can. Globalism, capitalism, artificial intelligence, and clean that up to, have this moment where humans are fully alive as per the
I don't see
coming.
do these things, if we just look at a phone, do these things make us fully alive? Like, do they really in reality? And you go, okay, they've made our schedules easier. They've made our ability to communicate to our families across the world easier. We can be instant contact. We can gain access to knowledge straight away. But is this literally making our lives better? And you've got to go, it could, like it actually, the potential is that it could, but it actually makes us depressed, anxious, and isolated, and so in some areas it's making our humanity alive because we are connecting to people via this medium, but our literal face-to-face interactions are not alive.
Yeah, we lose a lot. We gain.
They're not alive.
Yeah.
In other words, real living of a face-to-face on real dirt and soil, our ability to do that well is becoming less and less and less. So to make IA a success, we have to extract the natural resources to do that. We've got to. We've got to take water, and instead of making water available to people, we've got to isolate it and harvest it to cool our machines down. Now that might change, but we feel we prioritize the harvesting of water to cool down our machines. We prioritize that. That's a priority. That's a priority of evil. Even though we can do it, and even though we can achieve it, like, what's the driver of that priority? Is it to help humanity? Is it really? And I think in the heart of hearts, you got to go, it's actually not. It's to make money. It's actually to corner the market and to make money. So with all the beauty of AI, who was I? You've got to have access to wealth to access it. You've got to have access to the ability to tap into the framework So what does that mean for, say, non-Western folks, for rural folks? Does that mean they are going to be less human because they don't tap into the AI? So that's a value statement, and that value statement is based on morals, and I think the driver of that morality is evil.
Mm.
I think, which is why I personally believe, when I say earlier on that my people are going to be the leaders of this century, hopefully the indigenous value will have a relationship with the artificial intelligence community, which I do know in some circles is happening. But I also think the priorities of the indigenous world that connect to real-time space, to land, to forest, to seas, to rivers, to what it actually truly means to be human, to live on the earth, those values, I think, are going to be key leadership drivers to lead an alternative vision to, I think, an AI that will be driven by evil.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Now, I'm just sharing with you, and I'm exposing
Yeah.
my assumptions and having this conversation with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there might be listeners that are going, "Oh, that guy doesn't know anything," and they'll be right. However, I'm a human, you're a human. We live in 2025 where we have to engage with this on any front, but the majority of humanity are just sucking it up, just receiving it. And that's what the drivers of AI want.
Yeah.
They just want us to not ask questions and just participate. Shut the F up, buy your cell phone, and engage on the internet.
Yeah. I think that is changing massively, not just
Right.
the indigenous people, but I think there is a huge pushback on governments that they're hiding things, that we shouldn't trust them. The systems are not adequate. People are not being served by these systems. No one can afford a home. Why should we participate in this economic system? If you look at the way that we want to get to net zero by 2050, everyone's like, oh, we got to save the planet and we got to do net 50. But it seems to be more of an economic push. It's like, if we invest into this, then, everybody, it becomes an economy, and then we can trade off it.
Yeah.
And if you think about New Zealand taxpayers, we're going to be paying $3 trillion by 2050 to get to net zero. Right. How do we get a return on that?
Right.
We're just going to destroy and get an entire system of what we call as in New Zealand and government completely bankrupt. There's no return on that.
Right.
Right.
Right. Wow.
And we may end up back into this. This evil destroys itself, and then we all end up into finding who's got the hunter-gatherer skills and the knowledge and the visions, and be like, hey man, let's do a hungy because I'm fucking hungry.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
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 So it feels like that in many ways. But it's like there's a lot of big events happening at the same time.
Yeah.
The disclosure, these all disclosures, right? It's like of evils,
right?
Brutality, this creation of artificial intelligence. It's the whole thing about immortality, the technology, the distractions, the media, the rise of podcasting. As people wanting more information about what is it that they're experiencing, why are they here, what is going on? Because every human has 1 in 400 million chance to be born, right?
Wow.
And
400 million
chance to be born, like how you are with all the characteristics that you have, right? So that is really a fascinating point to be in this Christmas time.
Look, I I worried. Well, I think I'm not the only one, but I think many people worried when, say, at the inauguration of Donald Trump, and you saw Zuckerberg and Bezos and Musk and I forget who the other fellow was, on the podium. In other words, you've got all these giant AI tech companies that are at the inauguration of the current president, and you like that's an alarm bell loud and clear to think that, okay, here is the current president sitting, and then you've got the basically the ones who run all this stuff. They're there supporting this, and my take on that and my grief on that as a president who proclaims to be a Christian, and out of his mouth says some, if I remove him and just read some of the things that he says out of his mouth, that I go, okay, that's what you might hear on a Sunday in church, but then it devastates you because it's coming out of his mouth. And he's not backing it up with his actual life. He does not live the humility of the Christ that he talks about.
Yeah.
He does not live the values of loving the creation of the Creator that he proposes to speak about.
Yeah. I guess the counter argument I want to make to that is that the previous lot were absolute bonkers. They were way off in terms of where Christianity was.
The problem is that it doesn't matter whether it's Trump or Biden. It doesn't matter who the next ones will be.
Yeah.
The Trump and the Bidens of the world, the Luxons and the Hipkins of the world, they're living and they're functioning in a world that essentially doesn't exist anymore, and the tech guys know it.
Right. I think the
these,
most powerful
these
guy.
Dudes don't give these presidents, and therefore the governments that we think are in control. Those four dudes on the stage know that they're not.
Yeah.
They know who are in control.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. And this is where it gets interesting, because
technology is in control.
Yeah, but hold on. Listen to this. This is where this gets interesting. The whole guy in the space that was very interesting to watch was Charlie Kirk.
Why is that?
Because he was very Christian. He was very close to Christ and Christianity. He controlled every single young American voter in the country.
Everyone, or every confessing Christian one, or
I think most young people listen to him.
Okay, right.
Right.
Like for or against?
For.
Okay.
And he was the future in very way in terms of where America was going in this Christian path.
Yeah.
Right. And then someone killed him.
Yeah.
Why did they kill him?
Why?
I don't know. It could be some angry young kid that was distracted by technology, and he was, he felt that this guy was bad against saying bad things against groups like transgender groups and rainbow community. Or it could be something more evil, like the tech guys thinking maybe this guy's going to be in control in the future and he's going to become the president, and then he's going to push America into more of a Christianity path. So it could be anything.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it very fascinating.
Yeah. Man, look, a couple of sacred scriptures, texts that come to mind from St. Paul, the only thing that matters or counts is faith expressing itself through love. And as Christians, we're called to speak the truth in love. And I don't, obviously never met Charlie Kirk. I really didn't listen to much of him either until after he died, and had a little quick squint and really I asked my children about them, about Charlie Kirk, and they had opinions on Charlie Kirk. But as a Christian, like, truth can be a blunt instrument, right? But the follower of Christ is supposed to speak it in love. Now, that's not all namby-pamby, lovey-dovey stuff, but you're supposed to, love is patient. You're supposed to speak with patience. You're supposed to speak with kindness. Love, it's not angry. It's the opposite to anger. And Trump is an angry person. It seemed to me that Charlie Kirk took a posture of trying to reason and be rational, like a Jordan Peterson to a degree. But I didn't hear much.
Yeah.
Love from that corner or from that camp. You just hear people who just want to be right. They just want to be right. And both sides of divisions of left and right, for them the goal was to be right. The goal is not to love your enemy. And the central tenet of Christianity, you're supposed to love your enemy, And so how do you enter into the midst of the people that you dislike and you disagree with and find the capacity to genuinely love?
Yeah.
And that's like I know I don't have the capacity to love people. I just simply don't, unless they listen to my music, go surfing with me, are in my family. In other words, unless they're of my ilk, I can love them because they like what I like. I see them, But the people who don't, and I come into disagreement with, as in the nature of colonization, the people that just want to extract our resources, or the people that don't want to take Te Tiriti or Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi, seriously, I don't have the capacity to love them, but I'm commanded to. So what do I do there?
Yeah.
That's where I've got to fall on my knees and go to my Creator, Jesus, I don't have the capacity to love this person because I want to tear their heads off.
Yeah.
Help. I'm out of gas here, God. And I do that help by going to church, by taking the Eucharist. I do that help by going into the bush. I do that help by baptizing myself in the river or into a waterfall and just going, I don't have the capacity to love.
Yeah.
And part of me doesn't want to love either.
Yeah.
But I'm commanded to. Yeah. So that's where my follower is Christ here. So Christ entered into the back block of Israel, away from Rome, and became human. He became one of us. So that there's a posture of humility that I'm commanded to take in this journey of being human and engaging with humans,
Yeah.
So
do you also think that technology is causing a lot of noise that's disrupting your worldview and seeing the truth? Like, let me challenge you on Trump, right? You said Trump is an angry person. I follow Trump every day, and I honestly have a very hard time understanding what about him is angry, right? And I'm trying to, I'm a truthful person, I believe, and I have good intention. I try to have look at everything with good intentions. I see Trump talking nicely to people. I know that he trolls a lot of people online. I know that he has a leadership style that's very opposite to Jacinda, which is lead with strength, right? The Winston Churchill style. If you're not going to release the hostages, we're going to sort you out here. And he's trying to end all these wars, right? So what is it about him that you see as anger, or he's an angry person? Right? What is he doing that gives you that idea?
He's basically attacking. All of his enemies he's attacking.
Who are his enemies?
Like, all the let's just say the Biden administration that tried to shaft him.
He's trying to undo.
He's undoing them and shafting them back.
Well, he's removing the weaponization in the Justice Department, right?
And he's
You think
But
he's,
his drive is retribution.
yes,
His,
he did say
his
that-
drive is retribution.
Yeah.
That's anger.
Yes.
That's anger.
Yes.
So
I
and,
agree.
and you know what? I would say to any other politician, that's just politics, except for him, because out of his mouth comes the confession of Christ,
Yeah.
which is the exact opposite to being a follower of Christ, is that you become retributive. And if you become retributive, you are not following Christ. Therefore, he's a fake and a fraud.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that to some extent in this idea that I watched an interview of him and he said that if people fuck you over, you fuck them back.
Exactly.
Right? Which is kind of like revenge.
That's
And I
retributive.
feel about a lot of people like that myself. You know?
So, but what does Christ do?
Yeah.
He goes to the cross. He enters into humanity.
Yeah.
He enters into the worst of it.
Yeah.
And he takes it on. And wherever you follow people following that story, you have world-changing change agents. You have Martin Luther Kings. You have the prophets of Parihaka. You have the people of Parihaka, right? You have people who you know, patua te kino i te pai. You overcome evil with goodness. You don't overcome evil with retribution.
Yeah. But you can't just say, oh, because he's doing retribution, he is evil, full stop. I think humans are more nuanced, you know?
Totally, absolutely.
You know,
No,
people are more nuanced.
People are nuanced.
He's trying to do his best. He gets along with people that that he doesn't like, you know? He's doing deals with people he doesn't like.
Yep.
So, you know.
I don't fundamentally believe he's an evil person, but like all of us, you know, good and evil can have its day in any way of our lives. You know, the difference with him is that he's the most powerful leader in the world on the world stage, and on that world stage, he's confessing and in his way preaching Jesus Christ, but not living up to it.
Yeah, I get that.
You know, and to me, it's really, really gross. Yeah. You know, to in the middle of the Black Lives Matter riots, you know, go and stand in front of a church and hold a Bible in his hand and refuse to live according to that scripture, what that thing says. You're just like, nah. It's a mockery, and God's the life of God doesn't move through that. You know, God causes His rain and the sun to shine on everybody.
Yeah,
Is it the righteous and the unrighteous?
Yeah.
So how
is it easy to live by Scripture and God and full devotion of God in this modern world that we have found ourselves in?
No. Yes and no. And I think we all do. I do moments where I feel like I found the sweet spot. You know, like
how long does that last?
Let's just say I've had moments I find I've in the sweet spot, and then I have moments where I do something dumb, and you know, and it might rattles me, or someone does something dumb to me, and it might rattle me, and so the feng shui gets rocked or whatever. But look, I think like actually the real answer to that has to be yes. It is easy, but we complicate it. Like we complicate it by putting our rules and our restrictions and our things on it. Yeah. Where you've just got to say, okay, if I believe God created the universe and God made it good, then the life of God is in this room. Like the life of God is all around us. The life of God is in me. The life of God is in you.
Yeah.
We become distracted by rules. We become distracted by religion. We become distracted by philosophies. We become distracted by materialism. And we miss how close the Creator really, really is. You know, in us, outside of us, in our friends, in our neighbors, in our enemies. Like we actually miss it. So in that sense, you know, like there's this verse in in the book of Acts 17 that, God created the times and the seasons where everybody should live in the hope that they might reach out and find Creator, even though He is not far from every one of us. And then Western Christianity makes up this paradigm that, humans are wicked and evil and God's so far, far, far away from us because we suck. Whereas what the scripture says is God's close, right?
Mm.
He's there's nothing that has been made where God is not present. So I think we've got to come back to the idea that actually, like, the Creator really, really is close.
Yeah, and
Really is.
and things like how we celebrate Christmas is almost like another distraction of
Oh,
all
yeah,
that way of living, right?
Yeah,
Christmas trees, presents,
yeah,
Coca-Cola,
yeah.
Santa, right?
Yeah, of course, like AI, Christmas is an economic driver. Right, so it's driven, modern Christmas is driven by economics. And the economics, let's just say, Black Friday sales started in the last week of November. And then the notion of sales, drives us to the point of gathering around Christmas Day. So the notion of Christmas Day is one day, but then the Christmas season is driven by the economic model. Whereas if you just get away if you throw out our Western world for a moment and go back to the OG, then the church Christmas season, extends from, Advent, December 1st, through to at the least January 6th. Some churches go to January 19, some other traditions go to February 2. So, Christmas season is anywhere from 6 to 8 week period of reflection, of not of sales, but of reflection. So more so than any other Christmas period of this year, I've gone, I'm accepting the Christmas season of reflection.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my best every day to try and reflect on the notion of God with us, which is what Christmas is. God is actually with us. He's not a projection of humanity, but God is born in a late teenage girl.
Yeah.
And born in a manger, in a stable, born and being literally with us.
This is what I've enjoyed about Christmas the last 3 years, and the reason why I had you on my podcast in 2023 is this, just, I felt this need of just finding the truth and removing these layers of distraction, Yeah. It's like, the Christmas tree we have in the house comes from the pagan culture, not so much the Christianity. Mm-hmm. This whole Santa Claus.
What culture? The
pagans? I think the...
pagans. Oh,
pagans,
okay,
pagans.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
And then, Santa.
Yeah.
Right? This whole idea that, Santa is actually not real and it comes from Coca-Cola. But actually, no, it comes from Saint Nicholas of Myra in the 3rd century in Turkey. That was, very generous and giving. And he's known for saving daughters of a poor man who were lost in prostitution by giving them, throwing a bag of coins.
That's right. That's right.
And then, everyone started celebrating the Saint Nicholas Day, which, was referred as Father Christmas in the UK. And there were all these different visions and visuals of what that could be. What does Santa look like? And in 1762, an illustrator came up with this image of Santa, have a beard and wearing this red thing. And it wasn't until Coca-Cola came along with 100 or so years later, used that and pushed this whole economic narrative of what Santa is.
Yes.
Right? And we have this culture where we make kids believe until the age of 8 that Santa is real, and then we tell them it's not real.
Yep.
But actually, it is real.
Part of it was real.
Yeah, well,
Now,
it comes from a real person.
So this is great, bro, because if we're actually just using the narrative of Christmas to describe global history here, because you could take that narrative and you could almost apply it like across the board. In other words, what started off as Saint Nick, like, would anyone talk bad about Saint Nicholas and what Saint Nicholas did? Like, is there any part of Saint Nicholas, and let's just say we might only have the photograph of him, we might, but would anyone say, "Oh, that guy sucks. What an evil dickhead"? And the truth is, we wouldn't, right? So because we reflect on Saint Nicholas and we can go, okay, this guy's amazing. How can we be like this? How can we be generous people that use our financial wealth to help people get out of bad situations and to be like justice-inspired gift givers?
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. And then we go, oh man, let's use that. And how can we practice that? And then it slides into Christmas. Yeah, let's be gift givers like Saint Nick. And we have a couple of 100 years of, let's be gift givers. Let's be gift givers. And then we come into the 50s with the Coca-Cola version or whatever, or sliding into modern Christmas. And all of a sudden, the drive of gift giving and the reasons of gift giving gets taken out of the picture, and we just and so the reason behind Christmas is not to be generous gift givers to get out of poverty or whatever, but it now becomes buy my shit.
Yeah.
Buy.
Yeah.
Buy. So you've got nearly a 2,000-year narrative here that over time gets changed into something that we're going, well, what the heck is the point of Christmas? And to a degree, because we've lost that. That's what's happened to culture. But if we take the Western world has forgotten that what shaped it was actually a big driver of God, the Creator. God is with us. We have lost that narrative, and it's been replaced by Coca-Cola Christmas.
Yeah.
And so where we're at right now is the drivers of Christmas is economic and capitalist, which is the same driver behind AI, which is the same driver behind politics.
Yeah.
Which is the same driver. We've lost the big story. The Islamic world has not lost their big story.
Yeah. There are revelations happening, though. People are learning more and more about Christmas and Christianity. That's happening from this rise of information being accessed in different formats, right? I spend a lot of time with AI learning about religion and Christianity. I'm going through an entire journey now. And I have friends that are helping me with this about, trying to read the Bible, the First and the Second Testament, the Old and the New, and trying to learn about all these different events that happen in the world from a Christianity perspective.
Do you know what the first sin in the world, according to the scriptures, the Bible, the first sin was?
Eating the fruit in the evil, in the knowledge garden of good and evil.
Yeah, true. You got it. Yeah.
First sin, yeah.
So, think about it. When we think of, say, sin, hara, hair, hapa, making mistakes, whether intentional or not, like when it comes to sin, the traditional big ones of, gluttony, adultery, covetousness, or whatever, like it's actually not. It's actually not that. But sin, in the way that the Hebrew poem unpacks it, was gaining the knowledge of good and evil. Like, it wasn't sleeping with someone else's wife or husband. It wasn't, stealing $100 or whatever. It was actually gaining
The knowledge.
knowledge.
Fascinating.
That the Bible describes that as sin. That all of a sudden, as humans, I want the knowledge. Give me the knowledge. In other words, I don't have to have a trusted relationship with the Creator and the environment I'm in.
Yeah.
Just give me the knowledge so I can make the decisions.
Yeah.
So what that sin was is that you're breaking a face-to-face relationship with the Creator, that the way that you live is in a relationship with the Creator.
Yeah.
Listening to the voice of the Creator.
Yeah.
Living in the earth and being kaitiaki, being guardians and caretakers of the earth. But instead you're going, actually, if I just have this fruit, I don't need that fella. I can just gain it myself.
Yeah.
So I think AI is how do you gain the most amount of knowledge, the fastest way? It's just eating the fruit.
Yeah, but I can also argue that, I lived a life in most of my 30s that I felt that I was being screwed by people around me,
Right,
and I was being damaged by evil around me.
Right.
And I always was interested in good and the truth and not the lies and not the evil.
Yep.
But I felt like for me to know what true evil is and how to protect myself from it and go into a better path was to actually learn evil myself. So I needed the knowledge of evil to know what evil is. And there's a saying that Jordan Peterson does very well for embodying your real self as a masculine man, right? In your true human experiences, a good man, a strong man in society is one that is fully aware and capable of extreme danger and evil, but only use it when it is extremely necessary.
Well, is that what he says? That you have to use it.
No. You are aware of it.
Right.
You're capable of it.
Right.
But
Right.
you never use it.
Right.
Unless
Right.
it is very necessary
Right.
to use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, I feel like that knowledge, it's like, I don't need to bite the fruit, but I need to watch other people biting the fruit.
Right,
I
right.
need to read about evil. I
Right.
need to be comfortable
Right,
with watching Charlie Kirk being shot in the neck, so I see what evil is.
Right.
I need to watch it. If I stay away from it, that's not helpful either. I have, from my own life experiences, have found staying away from that stuff and not exposing myself to that stuff hasn't actually helped me
Right.
on this good path.
Right.
I need
Right.
that knowledge. And it almost feels like in our DNA, there is a lot of information that we can't access. Right? And we are finding ways to access that information to understand, why are we here? What is the purpose? What is God? Where is it? Is it coming back, or is it just leaving us to co-create and do something else, right?
Yeah.
So it almost feels like there are these information in our DNA that if we can access, good or evil, what can we do with it? Where does it lead us? Does it give us the answers?
And that's always the question: what could we do if we did, or if we know, instead of man, it sounds lame and it sounds pat, but how do I love my neighbor?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're just bent. We're bent on the pursuit of knowledge because we think in that process we're gonna. I'm not trying to put down knowledge. I guess what I am is when Foucault says knowledge is power, and you go, through knowledge you can dominate another. You can imprison another. You can have authority over another person. You go, but 2,000 years before he said that, St. Paul just said it even better. Knowledge puffs up. In other words, it makes you prideful. It makes you go, oh, I know a secret. I know something you don't know, right? So, which you go, it's all you're using that knowledge to try and better yourself. So those AI drivers are using the knowledge to try and find the pursuit of everything so that they can make coin. Like it's so that they can really genuinely make coin, but also put out the rationale we're trying to better humanity, we're trying to grow humanity.
Yeah, I see that.
When
I
they
see that.
don't give a crap
I see that.
about loving their neighbour,
Yeah,
let
yeah,
alone using their money to pay for water, to pay for schooling, to pay for whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're just taking the resources of the world and selfishly controlling them.
That's the story of OpenAI. Elon put 150 million in it as a charity. It was a not-for-profit. It was about creating AI, this thing that had nothing to do with money.
Yeah, but
Right.
it's still not driving him to love his neighbor.
Yeah, but what they did, Sam Altman, what he did is the moment that he invented or OpenAI created ChatGPT, which is artificial general intelligence, very quickly turned it into a profitable thing, created a company, and that was where it kind of got very messy. And but I see that, and I also feel that for me, so much of that life exists around this genuine curiosity of knowledge.
I think, and that's where, like, I love what you said about you try
And
to,
I have the right intentions,
Right.
and I'm looking for evil information to lead to the good.
I think what you're looking for, if I can interpret that, is that you're looking, and so am I, for wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think AI has wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
It just knows how to line up the ones and the zeros
Mm-hmm.
and spit out the most rational answer.
Mm-hmm.
So you're questioning to AI over color. It shows how it doesn't have wisdom.
Yeah.
And I think I think wisdom is knowing how to apply knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
like where you know how to apply it,
Mm-hmm.
and that knowledge is not 1 + 1 = 2,
Yeah.
because in any given circumstance, it might be wise to apply that knowledge
Mm.
in a context with someone or something, and in another context, it might be wise to withhold that knowledge or to not reveal that knowledge.
Mm.
So I think what we think by having access to the knowledge, we're going to be saved, we're going to be free, we're going to be whole. But what AI is not going to give us is the ability to apply it wisely,
Mm-hmm.
aka lovingly. It might do. I mean, some of the.
I think there's going to be people
some of the
that-
research I've looked at on cancer with my wife having cancer. When you see some of the solutions that AI spits out around cancer, like wow, you go wow. Doctors are going flip. We never would have thought about that.
Yeah.
That's amazing, right? But I think more and more what we need is the ability to be wise.
Yeah.
And what's the rationale forming what is wisdom, essentially?
Yeah, I think we are very much in the early stages of figuring what wisdom could look like in artificial life.
Right.
I should disclose, and I think I should have done this in the beginning of our chat, is that I have an AI startup. It's
Right.
called Funny Machines. We're looking at ways to understand humor and emotional intelligence in humans and find ways to recreate that intelligence in artificial intelligence.
Oh, really?
Right?
Oh, yeah. Maybe should have led with that one.
Yeah, I should have. But I don't feel like I have biases, but I might do. I guess the idea that I have is one of the issues that I have with this AI is that we are creating this one God that exists somewhere in America in a data center, and everything that we interact with AI from around the world is going straight into this machine. I don't like that idea because we're going to lose everything: knowledge, language.
That's how you know evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
But
that's
my-
how it's zeroing in.
Yeah. And my counter to that vision is that if we create a system where New Zealand and let's say the indigenous Maori people have safeguards around their culture, their language, and the way we speak the English language, and the way that we have a macaronic language where we mix the English and the Tereo mixed together, right? We have that protected within humanoids that exist among us, and they're learning from us. They're learning from this land and the people of this land, from humor. Humor is what connects us, makes us accessible. It almost feels like, I can talk to you, I can have a laugh, I can have a coffee with you, and you understand, you have wisdom to what information not to share and to share, right? And that information is restored in data centers we have here in New Zealand that's learning from the land itself, and it's protecting the land. Then, that is a better future for AI, in my view, than what we have right now.
I'm not sure it's better future for humans.
Of course.
Humanoids maybe, but not humans.
Of course. I guess...
Look, I'm not sure.
I'm not too sure either. But that's what I'm working on. Funny machines.
So
it's it also leads back to this whole, why am I doing this? Right. Why am I doing this?
Right.
If I'm not, is this my purpose to create this thing? Right. Why am I doing this? Why am I going for information? What's the wisdom? I was raised as a Muslim. And I was like, well, I don't like this religion because this feels to me about submission. I must submit. I must wear a vest and blow myself up. Right. I'm just joking there, but it felt submission. Paul Moon had a really good segment of religion chat with me on my podcast, historian, and he was very concerned about New Zealand become a post-religious society, that we need to go back to religion. We had this debate that Ricky Gervais always has, as if we burn everything that exists in scientific discovery, and at the same time we burn everything that exists in religious discovery, science will come back exactly as we have figured it out, because it's about experiments and tests and failures. Will exactly come back to the same views we have today about science and physics and biology. Religion will not come back how it was written by the First Testament and the Second and so forth. And he made a really good argument that it will not, but it will come back. Religion is in us. Right. It will come.
Gervais or Paul Moon said that.
Paul Moon said that. Yeah. Gervais is a very strong atheist, but he doesn't believe that. He thinks the world is better balanced if we have both. You don't go into one extreme. And then Brian Tamaki is coming on my show. He has very strong views about New Zealand has to be a Christian nation. It's like, what does that look like? Does that look like Handmaid's Tale? Right, where you have this the government going back to the days of Christianity and the church becoming one, which is what we have in Muslim countries. Sharia law is still how countries govern, right? So there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad in it. And I hear stories all the time with, refugees, Muslim refugees that come to New Zealand. And you go just talk to Women's Refuge, you will hear a lot of ugly stories about men and fathers controlling the women, even their adults. They're stepping all over their individual rights, their human rights. They're getting them married as teenagers to their cousins. There's a lot of bad things that religion, priests, fiddling with the kids. There's a lot of bad in there too, So it's... there is evil in religions too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can't sit here and say, religion is perfect.
And that's where you like the nature of wairua, the nature of spirit is that like people read the sacred scripts as like static text, and they interpret static text through their 2025 lenses. So you read 2 to 4,000 year old texts through a modern 2025 lens, instead of trying to jump into the lens of the 2,000, 4,000 year old and go, well, was that meaning, and why was that being said there, and what was that saying? You know, and then you extract the meaning, and you go, well, what does that meaning look like here, and is that meaning relevant? So is there meaning to say that I'm not allowed to eat shellfish because the book of Leviticus says that I'm not allowed to eat shellfish? You know, very, very clear. It's very clear what the text says.
Yeah.
Do not eat
Yeah.
shellfish.
Yeah.
In the same text as a man should not sleep with a man. You know, so to be clear, you've got to do both if you want to follow the script according to your interpretation. Or are you trying to find the meaning? What's the spirit behind those things? And 600 other texts. What's the spirit of that trying to say? And I think that's where we don't necessarily know how to read spirit. The spirit driving AI is not good.
Right.
It's not good. It gets pictured with, but we could do this.
Right.
We might know this. But is the spirit trying to better the life of your neighbor by giving education, water, food, whatever it is, helping out in their relationship? Is the driver trying to work with the earth, or just go, you know what? It's a wrap, folks. We're out of here. We're going to build Mars. You know, so if before the podcast started, you mentioned Musk. Like, what's his driver? Is it just human future possibility? You know, because you can look at the drivers of Mars and go, oh, there's a good thing in that. Or is the real driver going, I'm gonna F up the earth this much to get this amount of knowledge so that we can go and drive and restart again,
Right.
and Ziggy and the Stardust.
Yeah.
So and that's where you go, the driver, the spirit behind that driver, you have to call it into question.
Yeah.
You've got to call it into question. So if you're going to work and invest in AI and try and make humanoids emotional, you've got to ask the question, the why. What is my spirit on this? What do I want the spirit of this thing to be about?
Yeah.
So
I'm going to take the spirit back to making the betterment of the neighbor, right? Like it's like how do we quantify what betterment means?
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, meekness,
and you put that in the context of
self-control.
Yeah.
Like is this the gentlest thing?
Yeah.
Is this the most wonderful thing that I could do? And not just doing the thing, but the very way you go about doing the thing. Like, is the way you're going about it, is it wonderful for your work colleague? Is it wonderful for your investors? Is it wonderful for the forests? Is it wonderful for the water that actually sustains my being, not plugging my brain into the internet? You know what I mean? So you gotta have this relationship of being in a neighbor to creation.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I would respond, I would kind of rephrase that in my mind, or no matter how much wise or unwise that might sound, or limited that might sound, is that always try and do with whatever you're doing, you do it with really good intentions, and not destroy things and have these flaws, moral flaws in you, that you intentionally do bad things just because you want to create AI, or you want to be like, I have a very successful startup and look at me, I have a great image, or I'm hanging out with the right people type thing, right? That's kind of like how I see it. And so I'm always looking at systems, what's making me better at what I want to be or how I want to be, right? And all of the things that you mentioned, they unfortunately exist in the modern systems and structures that we are all part of. 99% of the things we consume, clothing, food, and everything else, we don't create.
Yeah.
We don't exist in isolation. So we are
Yeah.
playing this whole
Yeah.
game of, how do I get this to get better? And so I look at AI and go, well, the government's not doing this. They're lying to us. They're not giving us this. They're not giving us that. I can't afford a house. I can't afford this. I can't afford food in the supermarket.
Yeah.
So fuck it. I'm going to go to AI and be like, okay, tell me how can I recreate milk? Because I don't want to fucking buy $9 worth of butter from the supermarket because our finance minister is an absolute fucking dumb idiot. So I'm going to go to AI
Tell
and
me
say,
how you really feel.
yeah. It's like, well, how do I make butter? Right? It will tell me how to make butter. And then, it's almost like I'm looking for ways of betterment, and cutting off from stuff that I don't need anymore because it's unhealthy and it's actually not giving me the things that you mentioned it's giving to. Because I feel that in my spirit and my wisdom and the knowledge that I've gathered, and I understand what evil is.
Yes.
Right?
I think so. I mentioned I put a chapter in a book, and so here was one of the key questions I asked in the chapter that I did write. And it's a question of spirit. It's a question of wairua. So when you look at the narrative of Noah's Ark, and the idea of a universal flood that flooded the earth, and God, quote unquote, destroyed the earth, and and in a sense hit reboot, started again. The driver behind that narrative is a few chapters before in Genesis chapter 6, where it talks about the notion of what's called the Nephilim, where basically spirit beings saw that the daughters of men were hot and came down and wanted to have sex with women and created a new race.
Yeah.
Created the race of giants, and stuff like this. So now we're going back to mythological stories here. So, but the narrative is that these non-human beings, co-opted with humans, and a new thing was created, and that new thing that was created essentially brought destruction to the point where, dude, this is actually not good for everybody. For whatever reason, we don't have the full scoop, we don't have the brief, but and that was the first time rain came.
Yeah.
As far as we get. But I believe in spirit. I see spirit at times, in the way that it's manifested in my life and other people's lives. That story of Genesis 6 is a non-human force marrying with a human force.
Yeah.
That's my fear in AI.
Yeah.
As we see again another non-human thing married to humanity.
Yeah.
And it's fueled by a bad spirit. Because AI is not going to answer the question of spirit. Wairua kino, or evil, is always looking to ground itself. So spirit needs to be grounded,
right?
For it to have an effect, or to have shall we say, an everlasting, a powerful effect that's looking for a grounding, which is why, like, overcoming evil with goodness, like when the spirit of goodness can be grounded by turning the other cheek, or by giving generously, that's powerful. So evil is always looking for how can it be grounded in a way that can have the most powerful effect to control the most.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest fear I have of AI, is that a spirit of evil is looking for a grounding capacity to have the biggest bang for buck.
Yeah, I think you should take your chapter singularity that you skipped from your book, and you
Do
should
some
write.
more study.
No, you should write a second book.
Right.
You should write a second book on the dangers of AI and spirit and wisdom and learnings of Christianity, and tie it into this idea that Joe Rogan's visions about the computer being
Look,
the computer
yeah,
being the
yeah.
Virgin Mary 2.0 and Christ coming and Antichrist. Because I think there's a lot of people that I've spoken to are very concerned, especially in the religious circles, about artificial intelligence. And there's a lot of people that are in creative space don't like artificial intelligence. Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad, has created a new show called Pluribus, and the credits say created by humans on Earth. And there's no AI involved whatsoever. So I think there is a really good appetite for that you can drive this conversation around what does singularity mean, and where are the dangers of this that we see?
Look, I mean, a guy called Paul Kingsnorth from the UK. He lives in Ireland. He's just written a book on this called Against the Machine, and I want to say that because I've only just started reading it. I haven't finished it. But
thanks for that. I'll read it.
Paul Kingsnorth, Against the Machine. So he's kind of written the book, really. And it's but it's just he's asking those questions. He's answering those questions.
Yeah, cool stuff, man.
So it's very, very cool. But I again, what is like is AI going to make us more human, or is AI going to make the human redundant?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of elements of making human redundant but also there's a lot of, I think, justifications and views about AI making humans more human. For example, it can remove a lot of the distractions and do a lot of the jobs that we don't really need to do.
Yeah.
Right? So we have more time to do the human things that we're good at, the human aspects of the jobs, right? Yeah. So that means there's more time. For example, AI can remove and destroy the entire economic monetary system. Just take it out of it. We don't need labor markets, right? AI can fuel that machine, and money is just an information system.
Credit.
Right? It's just AI can create the system and machine. Yeah. We don't need humans to do labor to create that. So we're doing labor because somebody wants a home. Right. And we're doing it with purpose, intentions, betterment of the neighbor, and living together and community, and our own human self comes to life. And there is this concept of high universal income for everyone. So you don't have to go to job. You don't have to do those things, right?
I mean, has the tract of technology actually done that over the last 150 years?
Well, the argument
because AI is going to follow that trajectory. It's not going to be different to it.
I think it's going to be different to it. Is what the argument has been made by many, and you can challenge that argument.
And it's all philosophical ideas.
Sure,
but you got to look back and you go: is technology and what it's done? Is it really going to better us? It's going to make us.
Let me offer you something. Let me offer you something. Let me sell you something.
Sell me.
Right. AI is going to end colonialism. It's going to end all this economic system, capitalism. It's going to stop this whole taking land from people and extracting natural. Hold on. If I gave you AI in that form and it's going to do all of that, would you take it or not? It's going to protect your people. It's going to make your people rise faster. It's going to end the economic systems, the labor markets, all of this greed. Would you take that AI or would you not?
Oh, yeah, it'd be worth a conversation. Definitely would be worth a conversation.
Let's go.
But is it? I mean, at the moment, it's zeroing. You said it. It's zeroing the world into America. So, is America really going to give up?
That's the whole argument.
Is America going to give up that space?
That's the whole argument.
A government's going to have the power to give up that internet space.
No. That's the...
Everybody's going to have to go to Silicon Valley.
That's right.
The world's
Yeah.
going to have to go there
Yeah.
to get their definition of being a human.
Yes. That's what we don't
That's
want.
got
That's the problem.
that's got evil written all over it.
Yes. Yes. And I think there's a lot of people trying to fight
What-
that evil
what that does-
because
yeah,
they see
right,
good
right,
in they
right.
see good in
Yes,
AI,
yes, right,
and they're
yeah.
fighting that evil.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
right, yeah. And you know that's and I think I do think that's a noble cause.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's not a dead cause. I do think that's noble because this is a part of our human creation. If
Yes.
the glory of God is humanity fully alive,
Yes.
then there's a part of this that is us becoming fully alive. So
Yeah.
those conversations need to be had. But people say, religion just gives us wars, but technology gave us wars way
Yeah.
worse than any religion.
Yes.
Like technology has,
Yeah.
and so if you go, I think these things are all put into question to go that technology only makes religion and the viewpoint of religion all that more viable, because like Facebook has convinced me that the world needs the Christian story, because the things that people say are violent.
Yeah.
They're violent in their hearts.
Yeah.
And that's what King Solomon wrote of thousands of years ago. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Today, you can translate that out of the speed of the thumbs, the heart speaks.
Yeah.
So the human heart, technology has revealed the human heart to me. They go, man, we're jacked, because we're so angry.
Mm.
We think we think that we can call someone, an ass wipe or whatever it is, because we're a keyboard warrior.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the heart communicating, and it's a heart of violence.
Yeah.
And I go, the heart of violence needs to change.
Mm.
It needs to stop. And the only way you overcome that is, I think Creator knew that. You overcome it with goodness.
Yes.
That's what that's what Christmas is about, because it's what the cross was. That's what Christmas and Easter was about. God embracing this worst story and going, you know what, enough's enough. I'm going to kill myself. Yeah. Well, no, sorry, that sounds bad, but like the technology of Rome led it to crucify Christ. The one that was born in a manger. And I just go, somehow we have got to stop the violence. And the way the technology is being used presently, our political discourse currently is fueled by technology. It's fueled by social media. Is that creating a safer world? Like, has the last 10 years of politics created a safer, an aspirational, amazing world of politics? Or has it disrupted the process through violent rhetoric? And that's a no-brainer. So will AI make it better, or will it make it worse? Follow the trajectory.
That's a good place to end this.
Kia ora.
Thank you for coming in, man.
Merry kia hamete, bro. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you very much. Just quickly, can you tell us the name of your book again and where people can find it and buy it?
It's called Huia Come Home. Huia is an indigenous bird to New Zealand, and it's juxtaposed between the chicken, which is, this all comes from a dream my wife had between a chicken and a huia, and the bird, the chicken that was brought into New Zealand has become unusually large and oversized, and the huia, the indigenous bird, is extinct. So the notion of huia come home is that we need to learn from indigenous ways of being and thinking. So yeah. So
Awesome.
huiacomehome.co.nz.
Perfect.
Get it from there. Kia
Thank you
ora.
very much. Bye, everybody.
Ka kite.